As an employee at Culver's, a prestigious restaurant nestled deep within the heart of the city, I thought I had seen it all. It was the kind of place where high society dined, a place where people donned their finest clothes and put on their most charming smiles. Little did I know that beneath the surface of opulence, something sinister lurked, waiting to reveal itself. I started working at Culver's on a cold, moonless night. The restaurant was a massive Victorian mansion with towering columns and intricate wrought iron gates that welcomed the well-heeled clientele. It was a place of class and sophistication, but as I would soon discover, it was also a place of secrets. My job was simple enough. I was a server, tasked with ensuring the guests had a memorable experience. The first few days went by without incident. The patrons were pleasant, the atmosphere elegant, and the kitchen staff efficient. However, as the weeks passed, I began to notice something unsettling. It started with small things, a whisper in the air, a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. I brushed it off as my imagination playing tricks on me. Late at night, as I cleaned up the dining area, I would catch glimpses of shadows darting between tables. My colleagues dismissed my concerns, chalking it up to the stress of the job. One evening, as I was taking an order from a group of businessmen, I felt a sudden drop in temperature. My breath formed mist in front of my eyes. I glanced around, but everything appeared normal. The diners seemed unaffected. I continued taking their orders, but the feeling of unease lingered. As days turned into weeks, the strange occurrences multiplied. Glasses shattered without explanation. Silverware rearranged itself when I wasn't looking, and the chandeliers above would swing gently as though responding to an invisible breeze. I confided in my coworker, Sarah, who had been at Culver's longer than anyone else. "Have you noticed anything strange happening here, Sarah?" I asked one evening as we prepared for the dinner rush. Sarah looked at me with a knowing expression. "You felt it too, haven't you?" I nodded, relieved to know I wasn't alone. "What do you think it is?" She sighed. "I've heard rumors, was among the staff. They say this place has a history, a dark one. Some claim it's haunted, but not by ghosts." I shivered at the thought. "What do you mean, not by ghosts?" Sarah leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "They say it's the very walls, the very essence of this place that's tainted. It absorbs the darkness of the world outside and traps it within. That's why strange things happen here." I didn't know what to make of Sarah's explanation, but it didn't provide much comfort. The shadows that had been mere flickers in the corners of my vision now seemed more substantial, almost sentient.
I couldn't shake the feeling that they were watching me, studying me.
One night, as I was carrying a tray of food to a table, I saw a shadowy figure standing at the far end of the dining room. It was tall and slender, its features obscured by darkness. Panic seized me, but when I blinked, it was gone. I continued to the table, my hands trembling. The guests noticed my distress. "Is everything all right?" one of them asked. I tried to smile, my voice shaky. "Just a trick of the light, I think." But it wasn't a trick of the light. I knew it, and I knew Sarah did too. The darkness in Culver's was growing, spreading like a cancer. It seemed to have a malevolent intelligence targeting me specifically. I couldn't sleep at night, plagued by nightmares of shadowy figures reaching out for me. One evening, as I was closing up the restaurant, I heard a whispering voice. It was faint, almost inaudible, but it filled the room with an eerie presence. I followed the sound, my heart pounding in my chest. It led me to the grand ballroom, a room that was seldom used. The ballroom was a sight to behold, with its crystal chandeliers and antique mirrors. But that night, it was different. The mirrors reflected, not the opulence of the room. I saw myself, but my reflection was contorted, its eyes empty and soulless. I backed away from the mirrors, my heart racing. That's when I heard the voice again, clearer this time. It whispered my name over and over, like a chant. I couldn't tell where it was coming from, and the shadows in the room seemed to dance to its eerie melody. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice quivering. No one answered, but the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Panic surged through me, and I ran from the room, slamming the door behind me. I couldn't explain what I had experienced, and I knew no one would believe me. I decided to confide in Sarah once more, hoping she could shed some light on what was happening. When I told her about the whispers and the distorted mirrors, her face paled. "You heard it too," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've heard it before, but I never dared to investigate." I looked at her, my fear mirrored in her eyes. "What is this place, Sarah? What's happening to us?" She hesitated, as if choosing her words carefully. "I think Culver's feeds on our fears, our anxieties. It thrives on the darkness within us, and it manifests itself in these strange occurrences." I felt a chill run down my spine. Is there a way to stop it? Sarah shook her head. "I don't know. Some say the only way to escape its grasp is to leave. But I've seen employees who tried to quit. They were never the same. It's as if a part of them stayed behind." As the weeks turned into months, the situation at Culver's grew worse. The shadows became more aggressive, sometimes reaching out as if trying to grab hold of me. The whispers followed me wherever I went, even when I was alone. I could feel the darkness closing in, suffocating me. One evening, as I was serving a particularly demanding group of diners, the shadows erupted into a frenzy. They swirled around me, a cyclone of darkness. The guests screamed and fled, leaving me trapped in a maelstrom of black. I felt hands, cold and clammy, touching me from all sides. In that moment, I knew I had to escape Culver's. I fought my way through the shadows, stumbling blindly toward the exit. When I burst out into the cold night air, I realized I was the only one who had made it out. The restaurant had disappeared, leaving only an empty lot in its wake. I never returned to Culver's. I couldn't explain what had happened that night, and I didn't want to. The shadows, the whispers, the malevolent presence, all of it haunted my dreams. I knew I had narrowly escaped the clutches of something far more sinister than any ghost. Culver's, with its facade of elegance and sophistication, had been a trap, a place where the darkness of human nature took on a life of its own. I had glimpsed the abyss that lurked beneath the surface of our world, and I had barely managed to pull myself back from its depths.